Salmon of knowledge, just a salmon of knowledge, just a salmon of knowledge, just a salmon of knowledge, salmon of knowledge, salmon of knowledge podcast. Hey, salmon skins, welcome to another episode of An Edwin Sam. An Edwin Sam. Ba-doom-ba-doom-bum-bum-ba-doom-bum. You put the sunshine into my arse. You make the sunshine out of your arse. The sun shines out of your arse. And that's why I love you, 'cause the sun shines out. Sun sets in your boxers. Sun rises inside your pants. I want you, you want me. Let's get together and make our dreams come true. I should have said reality. Wake me up for the podcast. It's not on at any specific time. Salmon skins, welcome to the podcast. That is the reason, that kind of off the cuff, off the top of my head improv is the reason why this podcast is number 11 in the improv podcasts in Italy and has gone up 3 places to number 14 in the Norwegian improv podcast charts. I recently visited Norway to open up a supermarket that was built in the shape of my head as a tribute to me and everything I've done for the Norwegian people in their podcasting world and indeed their improv world. They didn't really exist as a nation, as a united nation, before my podcast brought the entire Norwegian people together. I've also moved up 40 spaces. That's not how they do it. Do. Let's put in some Top of the Pops music there. Coming in at number 42 in the Australian improv charts. And that is due in no small measure to one of my new salmon skins. In fact, he's a salmon savior. He is a patron, so he's enjoying all of the extra content on the Patreon page. I want to say hello to Scott Misruther. That's his surname. I don't know if that's how you say it. Scott Misruther. G'day, mate. I'm Scott Misruther. I live in Western Australia, and I probably don't talk like this. I apologise. The only Australian accents I know are the Crocodile Hunter and the Crocodile Dundee. Anything to do with crocodiles, really. And another man called Tony Crocodile. He doesn't have anything to do with crocodiles. He doesn't keep them or hunt them. He just has the unusual surname of Crocodile. And he's married to a woman called Beverly Alligator. I kind of went a bit Alan Partridge there at the end. Sorry about that. And maybe I'm getting more into Lord of the Rings. And the guy who did all the special effects for the Lord of the Rings. When Peter first came to us. You know the guy I'm talking about. I can't remember his name. Anyway, Scott, thank you very much for listening to the podcast and helping me get up those all-important podcast charts. I've gotten a few extra reviews lately, which has been very nice and very kind of people to do that, because basically I know people are listening, and a very small percentage of the people who are listening are leaving reviews. So, I mean, if you don't have any money and don't want to become a patron and get all good stuff like my book, you can read my book early. I'm putting up an entire set from over a year ago that was recorded in Dublin, 18 minutes of my stand-up. I'm going to put it up raw, unedited. I didn't put it up so far not because I didn't want to. I was going to put up like little clips, and I probably will put up little YouTube clips. You can, and maybe I'll put up the whole thing eventually. But some of it was like, it was just before myself and my beloved Cara declared our mutual affection for each other by saying the L word. I said, would you like some libations? She said, what the hell are you talking about? I said, some drinks. And she said, why didn't you just say drinks? I said, I was trying to be elegant with my language. No, we said, I love you to each other very soon after the gig, but during the gig, and I didn't tell Cara this, and I'm just talking to an audience of about, 70 people or something in the International Comedy Club in Dublin, one of the cornerstones of the comedy scene that hopefully will be coming back at some stage. And I said, we're dancing around the L word. Neither of us wants to say it because, you know yourself, once you say it, then things go up a notch. And I wanted the things to go up a notch, but, it's that lovely, excited, oh my God, thinking about them all the time. And since then, we have spent so much time together. It's like, I keep saying it, relationships have been thriving and collapsing, in equal measure and also extremely quickly. Because you're in a pressurized situation. It's like all those people that fell in love in Nakatomi Plaza on Christmas Eve when an international group of terrorists took over. And their leader, Hans Gruber, said, "You are all going to find that your relationships will suffer. And some of you may form romantic relationships that will last a lifetime. I am an exceptional matchmaker, Mrs. McLean. Call me Cupid Gruber." But no, it's been wonderful, and so much has happened in that year. We've gotten engaged. We're going to have a baby. Pretty soon we're going to have a new car. I got some bad news, though. I was supposed to be starting my driving lessons because I'm 43 years old, nearly 44, and I've never learned how to drive. And that's a shame. That's on me. And, when I said that to Cara at the beginning of our relationship, she was just like, what is it with comedians and people in the arts, ballet dancers, ventriloquists, close hand magicians? Wow, he pulled a rabbit out of his wrist. That none of them know how to drive. And I was, is that a thing? And then I was thinking, yeah, actually lots of my friends don't know how to drive. And since then, 2 of them have learned. One of them doesn't have a license yet. And I was supposed to be starting my lessons, but because of COVID, my lessons that were going to be starting this week, in fact 2 days ago, have been delayed until May. So I'm going to get all of my 12 lessons in. I have them booked, fingers crossed, that the restrictions lift and I can go vroom vroom, beep beep, and make all the appropriate noises, because I assume that is the test. The test at the end of it is you go in, it's a written exam. It's you sit down and it's like, what sound does the car make when it's happy? Beep beep. 10 points. I'll learn how to drive eventually. But I will be putting that gig up, and I can't, I thought about maybe cutting out that section, but you can hear it in full on my Patreon page if you go to Ed and Sound of Knowledge, and you can support me. Now, if you don't have any, spare money, and I understand because, my job was ended because I can't gig in venues that are closed. I can't really gig online. It's not the same thing. There has been a lot of great stuff being made by various people online who are, I don't want to call them online comedians. I think they're comedians. A lot of them have performed live. Some of them haven't performed live. Some of them will perform shows when things start rolling again. Rolling. Keep the vaccine flowing. Hook it up into my veins. I'll come back in a couple of weeks and have the second job, and then the song is going slightly off the rails. So I'm sorry, but that's just more of that classic improv comedy that the Norwegian people absolutely love. I also charted in Japan, thanks to, because I know it was just one person listening in Japan, but maybe he recommended it to his friends, a Swedish person whose name I can't think of off the top of my head, but you know who you are. Thank you for listening to this podcast, and thank you for listening to the other podcast that I'm involved in at the moment with 2 very good friends of mine. It's called the Cine Stream Club. We're cinemaniacs. Maybe that's what it should have been called. But it's myself, Trevor Brown, Andrea Farrell, and we talk about movies and the movies we love and why we love them. What have we done? Back to the Future. We've done Mrs. Doubtfire. We have done Coming to America. It's out every Thursday where you get your podcast. It's a funny, funny pod. It's just three mates having a laugh, chatting in a room, except we're all in separate places. Actually, one of us is in Meath, one of us is in Wicklow, and one of us is in Dublin, spanning the Tri-County area. It's the Cine Stream Club. Also, I have a podcast called Reviewables that we haven't had any new episodes since November, if you're a fan of that. I don't know, some people who listen to this. Jim from Scotland, hello. Hope you're doing well in Scotland. It's unfortunate that I didn't get to go to the Edinburgh Festival last year, and I don't know what's happening with the Edinburgh Festival this year. I recently got a refund for a gig that I couldn't go to because it was cancelled. So you can't go to something that doesn't exist. You can try and visit it in your mind. And I have had some dreams lately, and Cara's been having some strange dreams. And I think because it was a Tom York gig, Tom York of the band Radiohead, or as some people call them, The Head. So I'm a header. I'm a head the ball, which is what Radiohead superfans are called. I'm not a stan. I kind of have an issue with stan as a phrase. I think there's very much. There's very much poor sentence structure in what I'm saying right now, but there's a lot of extreme fandom. And if you are somebody who really, really loves something and it really touches you and it kind of speaks to you on a level that maybe not everyone else gets. If there's music or a movie, and for me it's kind of music where you literally just get lost in it. Like Tom York released a collaboration track. Well, he didn't release it. He collaborated with Fortet and that other guy, what's his name? Burial, that's his name. Burial. I'm Tom York singing here for you. I'm not sad even though I sound mournful. And I love Tom York and I love Radiohead, and it's just one of those things where, you know, a band sometimes connects with you. And I know there are several bands that my brother Julian, hey Julian, happy birthday. It's his birthday this week. Happy birthday, old man. He's a big Pearl Jam fan. And we actually went to see Pearl Jam in the Point Theatre. I won't call it what it's called. It's now called after a phone company. But we went to see Pearl Jam. He wanted to go see them. No one would go with him. And I said, well, buy me a ticket and I'll go with you. And he did. And we went. And it was really, really good. And they kept playing. The lights came on and they played another song. So they played way beyond the allotted time. They probably got arrested straight after the gig. But I kind of have an issue with the word stan because that comes from Eminem's song Stan, which was about an obsessive fan that would write him letters and seemed kind of to have a lot of mental health issues. So, I mean, standing on something, you know, it's kind of following that trend of when people are on social media and they're like, this is everything. This gives me life. This orange soda lives rent-free in my head. I stand it so much. Maybe not with that voice. But, you know, there is an extreme, you know, this is iconic. This, you know, helmet that I bought on wish.com that has an optical illusion that makes it look like there's a vortex on it, is iconic, is everything. It's a little bit extreme. So I think standing is like, I mean, you can just say, you know, you really like something, or I'm a real fan. And I don't know, like, I mean, I took a little trip today into town, slightly beyond my 5-kilometer zone, but I didn't go into anyone's house. I delivered some things that I had belonging to someone else, belonging to them. So I brought them back, and that was it. I mean, that's the extent of the story. And then I went to the Ivy Gardens because I had been there before. I'd recorded a little intro, maybe half a podcast in the Ivy Gardens before my battery died. And it's always a nice little atmosphere. And it's one of those gardens where it's in Dublin. It's a stone's throw away from Stephen's Green. But that's quite a large park and a well-known one. Like even the Phoenix Park, which is massive. And when we lived beside the Phoenix Park, and I'd go there, I'd like cycle there and try and find a quiet spot, but you just couldn't find a quiet spot. There was always deer frolicking, and it's quite loud. The frolicking of deer is something that you think would be, fairly under the radar when it came to noise levels. But they frolic hard and they frolic loud, and I couldn't record. But I went to the Ivy Gardens because it is quieter, because not a lot of people know about it. It's kind of hidden away. The entrance to it is literally off a path, so you have to kind of walk down a little bit. It's right there, you can see it, but it's got a wall. It's got a walled. It's all walled in with walls. How many times can I say walls? Quite a few. But not only were there people there, and they were, lads thumping a football next to me. There was a woman who was like, had a carpet hanging off a line, and she was hitting it with a hurley stick, and dust was going everywhere. And there was a lad playing bagpipes, and there was a wedding. People were being photographed on the steps, and I don't know, there was like 20 people or however many people there are at weddings. And I know people have had weddings and people want to get married, and I think that's a good thing, but I feel bad for them because I know it's obviously a very happy time and they want to do it, and it feels like you're having a big life event and you're moving forward with your life. Myself and Cara have pushed our wedding back because we really want to have everyone there. And when people post up and they're like, not the wedding we wanted, but a beautiful day. It's kind of like I don't want any ifs, ands, or buts. I just want love, candy, and nuts. That's all I want. I mean, like, nuts in a tray, like honey covered cashew nuts. I'm not talking sort of dirty times. That's the honeymoon. That's off limits. I'm not going to talk about that. I don't even know where we're going to be able to go for our honeymoon. We want to go to Japan eventually, and we're going to take ourselves and how many ever kids we have by the time that happens. But we're not having twins because it's too hard to handle Arnold Schwarzenegger and Danny DeVito and their crazy hijinks. Now, I made the mistake today of when I was in the Ivy Gardens, and the main reason I didn't record is because in the distance there was building work going on, so there was a kind of there would be a continuous bed of, which is a bee using a buzzsaw. And like that's okay to kind of fall asleep to. Like people like to fall asleep to white noise, the ocean, the hum of the Starship Enterprise from Star Trek: The Next Generation is also a popular one. And that's fair enough, but I don't want that. I want a clean recording. I mean, I can put that stuff in the background. I can put like a fairground noise. I can do whatever I want. I'll take 2 candy flosses, please. But I left and I walked up. I'd done like 25,000. Let me check my Fitbit. 25,000 steps, which is a lot of steps. In fact, my legs were kind of sore and my inner thighs were chafing a bit, which means that my thighs have gotten a little bit chunkier. But it's not surprising because I'm eating more cake and biscuits and maybe not exercising as much as I would do. But I made the mistake of saying this stupidly to my love Cara, who is 6 months pregnant. And she looked at me, and if looks could kill, I would have been severely maimed. Now I sound like a news reporter. The man said the insensitive thing about his weight to his wife, who was pregnant at the time. The comedian, who had been out of work for over a year, had lost the touch. He couldn't read a crowd anymore, not even his wife. So that was a dumb thing to say, me going like, oh, I think I'm getting bigger. And she's like, oh, really? You think you're getting bigger? Well, check this out, honey. That's not how she talks. So I won't make that mistake again. But like, I mean, I used to think, because I used to be a much bigger guy, and then I got like bowel cancer. So I have a lot of my large bowel is gone, and I don't know if that's like, food doesn't stick around as long, or I can't eat as much, or I mean, I just kind of changed my eating habits. But since we've been living with Cara's folks, and her dad drinks Guinness, and I drink Guinness, and there was a period there where I was drinking stout and eating meat every night of the week, which sounds like a Dubliner song. I was drinking stout and eating red meat. It was hanging around. It was enlarging my feet. My thighs were chunky, rubbing together, but none like a cricket in inclement weather. And that's the kind of improv comedy that makes Edwin Salmon of Knowledge the Netherlands' 64th most popular podcast. I dropped a few spaces since then. I'm number 18 in the Irish charts. Who cares? Coming up next, it's The Boys Are Back in Town, Thin Lizzy on Choppity Poops. The Lidl brand version of Top of the Pops, Top of the Poops. Guys, I'm just shiting on here like an idiot. But what I wanted to talk today is I wanted to talk about kitchen Feng Shui, because I'm very particular about certain things, and I think it's an Irish thing. I don't know if it maybe it occurs in other countries, but there's something, and because this isn't my home, I mean it is my home, but it's not my house. If you get me. So myself and Cara, when we moved in, we bought bins for the kitchen, a bin for rubbish and a bin for recyclables. And there's already a brown bin under the sink, a little small bin for brown things, brown packaging, brown eggs. You always need to get those yellow or white ones, but they only have those in American movies. I remember that in Ghostbusters, actually, when Dana Barrett, Sigourney Weaver's character, came back, and the eggs would open and jump out and start frying on the side of her kitchenette. And I was like, wow, look at those white eggs. How did they get those white eggs? But we have all the bins that we need now. But before, there was never a bin in the kitchen. And when we come visit, that would I'd be like, why? I don't understand. Instead of a bin, there were like little tiny bin bags that would hang off the presses on under the sink, and they'd fill up, and then they'd get transferred to a slightly larger bin bag, and then eventually that larger bin bag would get transported and put in the large black bin outside. So it was like this kind of Russian doll of bin recycling. And it just have one big bin, fill it up, take the bag out, put it in the big bin, and then put another bag in the bin. Just normal stuff. So it just kind of, I don't know why that was. I think it was like they didn't want rubbish hanging around too long. But I mean, it's not gonna. It's it's got a lid on it. It's not like a rat is gonna see the bin hang in the corner and go, oh, I bet you I can break into that, and rat takes up a brick with its super rat strength and smashes the kitchen window, and we all kind of go screaming out the room, and it comes in, knocks the bin over and starts eating everything. Ha 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 ha, you cannot stop the rats. Rats aren't like that. So we got bins, but then there's another thing, which is you have a sink, right? You have a kitchen sink. The kitchen sink is metal, and it has a plug, and you fill it up with water. Sometimes you wash things in it. Sometimes you fill up water into a water filter. You don't drink water directly from the tap because rats are swimming in the reservoir and you get a slight aftertaste of rat. You go, nice water. It's cold, but it's very ratty. Could you put a slice of lemon in it, please? I like to have lemon-flavoured rat water. Right away, sir. This restaurant is going to close tomorrow. That's not going to happen. But like, the sink is there. You use the sink, but people buy basins and put the basins, like a plastic basin, in the sink, and that sort of infuriates me a little bit. And whenever I'm doing any washing up, I just take that out and wash things, and then all the dirty water goes in the sink. Like, I don't get the point of putting water in a basin that's in the sink and then washing up. Like, what are you going to do? You're not going to go out with the water and throw it in the grass or something. It's all going down the plug hole. So that's my new mission, is to get rid of that thing from the sink. No more plastic basins in the sink. And that is something that's a hill I am willing to die on. And that concept lives rent-free in my head. Guys, we're going to take a little break and we're going to be back right after these messages. If you have the skip button, skip ahead. But if you want to listen to an ad about, I don't know, loans or something, and hell, look, I'll put a fake ad in there as well in the middle of it all, and it'll be very confusing. Bye. Here's the ads now. Coming this summer from the No Budget Network, NBN presents The Highly Visible Ninja.
Have you seen me?
Yeah. Highly visible ninja, highly ineffective, highly dangerous. When you see him, he'll be seen. From the No Budget Network. Guys, welcome back to the podcast. Those were the ads in the middle of the podcast. So as I was saying before, I got a refund for Tom York in Berlin, which would be the first time that Cara would have met my brother, which was last July. And now it looks like the next time I see my brother Jonathan, Johnny, J-Man, Johnny, sweet Johnny Bone. Just some of the names he has. The Jester. No, he's not called that. Jake. That's his new name. Call him the Jake Man. Johnny and the Jake Man. He's the same person. That's another show from the No Budget Network. But the next time I see him will be the first time he meets Cara, and he will probably be meeting his nephew for the first time as well, because we don't know when we're going to see each other again. But we've been working on writing something together, which has been nice. So we've been having like little video chats, and it's a nice distraction, and we're not talking about the fucking thing that is going on that everyone is talking about. And myself and Johnny and Julian had a nice brother chat for about an hour and a half, and we really didn't talk that much about the shit that's going on. We're just talking about kind of movies and things that we've been watching and things that we've been doing. And Julian very kindly gave me a present. I have to get him a present because it was his birthday. So I'll think of something. I'll find something online and send it to him, and send him a little card, birthday card with a scratch card in it, because that's what I like to do. And maybe a tiny bit of heroin. Just a spoonful of heroin makes the world go down, and makes everything is better with heroin. There's a little heroin ad for you. No, I'm not going to send him heroin. Please don't write in, because there is no post box. You can't write in and complain. No, we were just making each other laugh, and I was like talking about eventually playing The Last of Us 2, and I think I better play it before the baby gets here, because otherwise I won't have time, because I'll just be feeding and changing shitty nappies and trying to sleep. So that's going to be my life for 6 weeks. Those podcasts are going to be interesting. I think, when he starts gurgling and whatnot, I'll have him on and I'll interview him. I'll grill him about his dubious past in the womb. What was he really up to? Find out now. It'd be like one of those, clickbait things. Pierce Brosnan's wife looks incredible. Take a deep breath before you see what Kelly Clarkson looks like today. One of them made me laugh, actually, one of those clickbait articles. When you're reading, bullshit articles, and I usually read articles about movies and stuff like that, and popular culture. And underneath one of them was like, Kelly Clarkson won't apologize for how she looks now. And it was almost like they were, we demand an apology from Kelly Clarkson. And I don't care about Kelly Clarkson. I don't care about what Pat Kenny's done to his hair will shock you. This article about cryptocurrency will knock the cheese off of your cheeseburger. I hope you don't like cheese on your cheeseburger, because it's going to get blown away by these startling revelations about American Idol winner 2017, Chip Chipperson's pants. Take a deep breath before you read this article about his pants. It's just fucking nonsense. But look, I'm ranting away and I'm getting off topic. I think I'll do my 1 minute review of Wandavision. Welcome to the 1 minute review show. All the reviews in a minute. This week, Wandavision's penultimate episode. Yeah, Wandavision, a lot of people like it. It's one of those things where, like I said before, it's less about the characters and more about what's happening and the overarching narrative and theories online. These theories about Wandavision will blow the cheese off of your ice cream sundae. What's cheese doing on your ice cream sundae? Take a deep breath and eat your ice cream sundae before you read these theories about Wandavision. I thought that the most recent episode, the penultimate episode, was one of the most redundant episodes of television I've ever seen, because it really didn't reveal anything that you didn't know already. In fact, there was nothing about it that was surprising in any way, shape, or form. And I would say, if you haven't watched it, don't. Just watch like the last 2 episodes maybe. Watch episode 8 and then I'll see what episode 9 is like, and I'll be back later with that. And that's my 1 minute review. So guys, that's near to the end of the show. This is actually the next day. This is the day the episode goes out, Friday, the 5th of March. Happy Friday, everyone. I hope that you're having a good Friday. I hope you have some plans for the weekend. I know we can't really do much unless a circus suddenly appears within our 5-kilometer zone. And I don't think that's going to happen, because circuses are probably the dirtiest, most infected places of all. I apologize to anyone who works in the circus industry. You see, just these days you have to say things and then you immediately have to apologize for the thing you've just said, just in case someone gets their nose all bent out of whack. I have seen things you people wouldn't believe. Tweets over the shoulder of the internet. No, I saw something which kind of... It doesn't prove my point. I'm not trying to prove a point. I'm just pointing something out that annoys me about stands. This is basically the wrap-up of the podcast, where I wrap up what I'm talking about and I get back to what I was talking about at the very beginning of this podcast, where I mentioned Dreams and Tom York, and then I never followed up with the Dreams. But before we get to Dreams, I saw a tweet from someone who is a Anya Taylor-Joy and a Hosier stan. And this was a tweet that I saw, and it goes like this. And now there's no punctuation here. There's no commas. There's not even a full stop at the end of the sentence. So this is a tweet that's just gone nearly off the rails. It's out of control. It can't be stopped. Every Hosier stan is an Anya Taylor-Joy and Saoirse Ronan stan. It feels right. It feels organic. So, that got 133 retweets, 14 quote tweets, and 988 likes as per the recording of this podcast on Friday the 5th of March. I won't say who the tweeter is because they've had enough attention and I don't want them to come after me. Because sometimes you get tweets where people are like, they'll talk about something. They'll be like, I think fruit juice is best from concentrate. Anyone agree? And someone's like, yeah, you're right. But only the pineapple stuff. And they're like, oh God, why do someone have to come in with their bloody pineapple shit? God, get out of here, you dick. And they're like, well, you're the one who started talking about concentrated fruit juice in the first place. And then you cry in the corner of the internet where nobody can see you. But listen, here's the dream. Enough Twitter nonsense. Incidentally, you can follow me on Twitter at Edwin Salmon or on Instagram where the real party's happening. Some people have moved from Facebook to Instagram, not realizing that Facebook own Instagram and they own the person you're looking at now. Yeah, they've bought that person. You think that person is your loved one. You think they have autonomy. You think they have a mind of their own. But they're working for big Tesco. That's right. Tesco now have been bought by Facebook. Don't buy cornflakes. You're literally feeding Mark Zuckerberg. It's a giant conspiracy. Dreams can come true. Look at me, babe, I'm with you. You know you got to have on. You know you got to be strong. So here's the dream that, because I was talking to Cara about Tom York being refunded, the tickets being refunded. And she was like, oh, great. Money. And I was like, yeah, that's true. We'll get a little bit of money. We'll get the groceries for the week with those refunded tickets. And then she had a dream. And the dream was that myself and Cara, along with about 8 other people, were all acting in a Tom York music video. And the music video was being directed by my brother Jonathan, a.k.a. Johnny Bonbone, a.k.a. Berlin Johnny. And he was directing it using a drone camera, because he's a qualified drone pilot. So, it's not within the realms of possibility. Now, I will say that his music video he was directing was Tom York was driving a car down a hill, like a grassy knoll type hill and a field, and there were trees around, and he was driving like an old car, like a car from like the 70s or 80s. And he was driving the car and we were running after him down the hill with our arms kind of out like we were airplanes, And then some people's arms were like moving around like they were windmills in circular motions, both clockwise and anti-clockwise. And that was the, that was the video. And Cara was getting annoyed and this like drone was like buzzing overhead. And Johnny was intently directing the music video. And then she woke up and I just thought it was so funny. And it actually reminded me of something that Johnny made a while ago, which involved an old abandoned car under a tree on a hill. And and Cara didn't even know about that. How did she know? I mean, it was just a coincidence. So my dream that I had like the following night was just one of those bizarre dreams where weird shit is happening that if it was happening in normal world, you'd be like, have I just taken mushrooms or acid or lost my mind or all of the above? Because the dream was me cycling a bicycle in an unfamiliar, it's one of those things where you're in an unfamiliar street in a sort of unfamiliar city, but it kind of resembles, 14 cities that you visited in your lifetime. It's like a mixture of Paris and Berlin and Prague and all these kind of places. I can only think of 3 places I've been to. Krakow. And I'm cycling a bike, just a regular bicycle, nothing fancy. Not a mountain bike, but a regular bike, but not like a penny farthing or anything kind of crazy and totally old school. And next thing behind me, there's like a motorbike. Now, the motorbike was a sort of a 1950s, 1960s kind of classic motorbike. The kind of motorbike that you see Keanu Reeves driving around in or on. And you think, wow, yeah, he's pretty cool. What a nice guy. And he's got some taste. He likes his motorbikes. And that's fair enough. So this motorbike was like beside me and like tapped me on the back and pulled me over. And the person riding the motorbike was the principal of my old secondary school, St. Brendan's Community School in Burr County Offaly. Brother Dennis, who I believe has passed on. If you haven't, Brother Dennis, and by some chance you're listening to this podcast, although based on my demographics, you're probably not listening. And also, if you've died, you're definitely not listening. But he was on the motorbike, and he was wearing a leather jacket, but he was wearing a leather jacket over his kind of long black robes. He basically, when we were in school, myself and my friends, and we'd be sitting on the bench and we'd see Brother Dennis like talking to a first year 13-year-old and sort of, reassuring them and also terrifying them in equal measure. And we'd always kind of think he looked like Darth Vader, but he'd forgotten his helmet. So we'd be like, doing like the voice of Darth Vader going, have you seen my helmet? That sounds more like Gimli from Lord of the Rings. But so like a kind of a long black kind of robe, basically, like like a Christian brother would wear, because that's what he was. He was a Christian brother, and so he was wearing that and a leather jacket over it and a helmet, and he like pulled me over, and he was giving out to me, and I was going to be fined, and then all of a sudden he goes, "Take a couple of cakes," and I was like, "Huh?" in the dream, and I turned around and there was like a little boy, like an 8-year-old boy or something. And I know what you're thinking, priests and boys in a dream. But no, there was none of that. He was grand. He was sound. His nickname was the Boil. And I think he probably knew it. Because he'd go, if he got mad at you, his like face would flush red. And looking back at it now, I think that was probably, embarrassment, because, no one wants to lose the rag, especially if you're in a position of power, like the principal of a school. Maybe he was just embarrassed, or maybe it was just anger, pent up frustration. But no, there was none of that business going on, fortunately, in the school from Brother Dennis, a very nice man. May he rest in peace. Or, hello, Brother Dennis. Thanks for listening to the podcast. And now I've covered all bases. The 2 bases of alive and deceased. Yeah, so he's like, have a cake. And there's maybe like an 8-year-old boy who I didn't recognize, who had like a tray of cakes, but there were those kind of, finger cakes, like square or rectangle kind of long cakes, like coffee cakes and little Battenbergs. And I was just looking at them, and they didn't have my favorite ones, eclairs. I was looking for chocolate eclairs, like tiny chocolate eclairs, or even those like caramel eclairs. And I was like, oh, I don't have them. And he was like, take a cake. So I took like a flaky, like I think coffee cake. And I was like, oh, I don't like coffee cake. But then I was like annoyed with myself because there were other cakes. I didn't have to choose the coffee cake, but but I did. And then for some reason, I went into this like old-timey shop to eat the cakes. It was like a tiny little, like a jeweler's. All these like glass cases, but they didn't have any jewels or watches in them. But it was real old school. It was like a 1920s shop, and there was just all these like old men in suits, like 3-piece suits, looking at stuff through magnifying glasses in their eyes, those little, little spyglass things. And then I woke up. So dreams can come true. Look at me, babe, I'm with you. You got to have on. You got to be strong. I don't know what that means. It just means that I have a lot of subconscious time on my hands these days. So that's the dreams that I was eventually getting around to. So that's the end of the podcast, guys. I hope you've enjoyed this episode. If you have, tell someone about it. If you want to give me a review, as a few people have, it costs you nothing but a couple of minutes, and it really helps with the old algorithms and getting this podcast into the ear holes of other people. So, thanks very much. Thank you, Scott in Australia. Thank you, Kevin and Leah, my number one salmon skins. Thank you, Lord, for shining down on top of me, making my bald head all nice and warm, and giving me a lot of vitamin D. That's the thing that keeps the Verona away. So, guys, check me out. I'm on lots of podcasts. I'm on Dream Gun Film Reads. I'm on Those Conspiracy Guys. I'm on Reviewables. The Cine Stream Club is up and running. The next episode next week is Big. Tom Hanks is big. So he's big, and he's big in it. He's a fully grown man. But he's a child inside, in a literal sense, not a metaphorical sense. So in honor of my new salmon saviour from Australia, I'm going to play the Australian National Anthem to play us out. So guys, thanks very much for listening. If you want to become a patron, you can go to edwinsalmonacknowledge.com/Patreon, or the other way around, I think it is. And thanks very much. If you want to follow, subscribe, review, do all those things. If you see me on Twitter, say hello. I'm extremely polite. Guys, take care, and I'll see you soon. Bye bye bye. Bye bye. Slán. Salmon of knowledge, just a 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 salmon of knowledge, salmon of knowledge podcast.